All right, thank you for staying with us. It appears the federal government have begun to reap the benefits of the fuel subsidy removal as operators within the downstream oil and gas sector have said the government has saved about 400 billion naira due to its decision. Recall that on May the 29th, President Bola Tinubu, during his inauguration speech, announced the removal of fuel subsidy, which caused confusion as many Nigerians were seen on queues in filling stations with the price of fuel rising by almost 300%, which caused on a rippling effect on transportation, food price, amongst others. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, Kyari, had also stated some time ago that the country spends 400 billion naira monthly on fuel subsidies. Now Nigerians are anticipating how the money saved would benefit other sectors of the country's economy. Joining us in the studio is a business and economic development strategist and also a commentator, Michael Adeleye. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Right. The government has said that there are reports saying that we have saved about 400 billion naira as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy in 1 month. Interesting news, but if you could give us insight into what this really means for Nigerians.
Thank you very much and good morning. Obviously, the subsidy amounts to around about 3 trillion naira on a yearly basis. So obviously, the calculation goes like, okay, the landing cost of the PMS is around about 315 naira per liter, and obviously they give it out to the marketers, or they sell it to the marketers to around about 113 naira per liter. So the difference between 315 and 113 is 220 naira. So if you multiply that by 66.5 supposedly consuming liter we have in the country, multiplied by 30, that gives you that figure. So the 400 billion naira is what they have saved within that month, because obviously they did not give it out.
So what does it mean then for Nigerians?
Well, it's a good news, because obviously it will have put us into another debt ladder from where we are at the moment. So, but in the speech that the president made on his inauguration day, which says the subsidy is gone because the money wasn't actually appropriated in the budget. So obviously it's a save us from going to borrow that money and to make us to go into more debts. So obviously it means we have to tell Nigerians that, look, that money is nowhere to be found. We've saved that money for ourselves, but we have to cover that money out by ourselves to make sure that we cover that gap.
What's the impact, in your opinion, on fuel prices, for example, because analysts have differed on this issue, whether it is going to bring positive or negative implications for Nigerians regarding how much they buy fuel?
Well, it has both ways. There is the negative part of it, and there's a positive part of it. Now, the negative part is we are already in hyperinflation regime, because all the prices of goods and services has skyrocketed. And the people on salary or minimum wage can't afford to live on that wage. Even the people on living wage can't even afford to live on that standard. So that is one of it. Now, we're going to begin to see increase in antisocial behavior. We're going to see protests going up everywhere. We're going to see people not being able to manage their family economically. So these are some of the disadvantages. But if you look at the advantages of the whole thing, we're going to have more forex that goes out to pay those unscrupulous people that eats up that money that we don't even see the impact in the economy. We're going to see more investment or investors coming into the industry, because they know now it's been regulated. And obviously they invest in there, they're going to be able to recoup back their money, and so on and so forth. So it has both balancing effects on the economy and the people.
But how can government manage the effect it has on the people? Because there has been concerns raised with regards to if government does not manage the effect on the people, we may not really see or reap the benefits of this fuel subsidy removal.
Right, okay. It boils down to effective information dissemination. If I'm in government, what I'm going to be telling the people is this: look, we are in this together.
The president has been saying that.
Yeah, the money is not there to be spent. The solution now is, for me, is to go borrowing. And I will tell you why they have to go borrowing.
Why?
Now, for the people to feel that have that effect positively, we have lapses in majority of the infrastructural structure in the country. If we start from the road, if I'm thinking about, I will tell the populace, look, we need to invest in our roads networking. We need to invest in our educational system. We need to invest in our healthcare, basic healthcare system, and so on and so forth. The educational system is dilapidated, if you look at it that way. Now, the employers are crying on one side, employees are crying on the other side because of the salary that can be increased. Now, what they need to do is this: every business pays corporation tax. If the government go borrowing and say, okay, you know what? You pay all stakeholders, businesses, you pay us a certain amount of money every year. You can we can give you a tax holiday for about a year. So the money you're supposed to pay towards the government, use that money to increase the salary of your workers. That's one side of it, okay? Now, the other way around is, they could say, okay, pay 60% or 40%, we give you a discount. So you can use that money to actually pay those, the increment in salary of your employees. That will work perfectly. That's on the employer's level. Now, going further, if we look at our road network, from the axis of Bega up to around about Opicom way axis, you see people stranded in there every single day. This has been going on for about 2 years. Okay? Now, if you calculate the amount of hours being spent in there that should have been used productively in other places, it's not happening. So they could spend that money in increasing in obviously road networking around the country. People that are actually farms, the farmers in the rural areas could actually bring their produce to the market with good road networking. That will save time. Majority of households spend their money, especially people that drive cars, spend their money on car maintenance because we have bad roads. Okay? Maintenance, shock absorbers, tire busting here and there. If we have good roads, good network of roads and good roads, thus money could be saved by households. So they could, the government should spend money on road networking, fixing good roads for our people. Thirdly, power supply. If you calculate how much every household spends on fueling their generators every single day because they don't have effective power supply in the country, that is a huge amount of money. So if that money they go borrowing is being spent on, obviously, developing the infrastructural, what's it called, equipment of the power supply, that will effectively work out. If you have 15 hours, 18 hours power supply in the country, that will improve productivity of small-scale businesses, micro businesses, and big businesses as well. Now, they could go further. If you look into our educational system, we're having a crisis in there. Going at the days about 20 or 30 years ago, where we used to have all this technical education, where we have people that goes to learn and becomes qualified artisans, like plumbers, electricians, builders, and so on and so forth. The biggest growing sector in the economy is the building sector, the construction sector. Now, who are these people that occupy these areas? They are foreigners. If you build a house now and you want to have your POP done quite very good, your bricklaying, your plumbing, you go to Cotonou, you go to Togo, you go to neighboring countries to bring these people in. These are money going out of the economy because we don't have skilled people in the country. So they need to invest in that sector as well. Our basic health system, the same thing. So if you borrow the money and explain to the people that, like, if we're going to borrow this money, we are in this together, but we're going to spend this money. After the first 1 year, the National Bureau of Statistics comes out and tells us what the money has been spent on. So you can actually see the ripple effect of that money they're going to borrow. we will be able to say, right, okay, we're going to borrow, but we can see what the money is being spent on.
All right, and that is even where I am headed now in this next question, looking at what has been done or what is the presidency going to do about the past fuel subsidy regime. What do you think the president should do? Now we have SERAP, a rights group, asking that even the 400 million that was possibly 400 billion naira that was possibly saved in the past month should be accounted for. And then there are also calls on the previous regime to, there's nothing that has been said about, you know, those people who scammed Nigeria, basically.
First and foremost, the 400 billion saved by this administration, the money isn't there. They don't have the money in the first place. It's just saying we would have spent this money, assuming it was or it is in the current budget.
But you recall Mele Kyari had said, February or thereabouts, he had said that the difference that you earlier highlighted, the 200 and something naira, that if
the difference, yeah.
Yes, when you subtract it from what the government is paying, that would save Nigeria, you know, this much, 400 billion at the least. So if no subsidies were paid in June, for example, isn't it required that the federal government should also need to, you know, tell Nigerians what that money will be used for or has been used for?
Yeah, I've just highlighted some of the things that the money should be used for, but let's go to your first question. The past administration, I think there's a lot of corruption that goes in there, because, put it this way, 3 trillion naira every year the government has in the budget that they spend on subsidy. The people that they said they pay the money to, the NNPC Limited, said they have no penny.
Yeah.
They didn't pay them. So who are the people that they pay the money to? What was the money being used for? Because we didn't even say the PMS that they actually paid the money for. So that's corruption number one. The government should go after all the people that were behind this scam. Because if NNPC has gotten the money, it's a different ballgame. The NNPC said they haven't been received any penny. They just say the figures. They are the one actually paying out those money.
But the question is, how is it possible that they didn't receive any penny and just sat there without ensuring that they did something?
Don't forget, NNPC are the major seller of these products. So the money comes into them. So the proceeds of what they've sold out is what they use in funding those subsidy. Whereas the governments have that budget, they get the money, claiming they pay it out to someone. The money should have been paid to NNPC, but they didn't pay the money to NNPC. The money went out to some unscrupulous people who should be traced and prosecuted to find out what's happened to that money. I mean, it's a serious scam. 3 trillion naira every single year in the last 12 years. Where is the money going to? The people that you're meant to pay, NNPC Limited, they didn't get the money. So there's a huge corruption gap in there that the government, of this current government, needs to look into.
If the government paid the money to someone, or if someone paid money to someone, who are we supposed to hold in this scenario now that you have just spent it?
Always there's a middleman. Someone that pays money to someone, that person is meant to pay the money to the owner of the products, and the owner of the product didn't get any money. So the middleman is actually the one that's actually siphoning the money in conjunction with the person that pays the money to him.
Who is the person? That's government now.
The government.
So it boils back to government investigating itself.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the current government should go back to investigate their predecessor. Where are all this money? Who did they pay the money to?
Right. And speaking about investigation, accountability, and the likes, how well do you think INEC has, you know, dealt with this issue of fuel subsidy? There's been, you know, also spotlights on INEC in their remittances. You know, there's been so many controversies regarding NNPC, I should say. But in your opinion, how well do you think NNPC has fared in the issue of, you know, management of fuel subsidies and, you know, all the like moving forward? What do you want to see?
You know, like people say there is no smoke without a fire.
Absolutely.
So obviously, the NNPC had the question to answer as well. You can't keep giving out the national treasure to some people and you're not being paid for it, and you kept quiet. Although they did claim in their responses that they've been calling and been speaking to the national budget and finance, but nothing happened. So why didn't you cry out? You are a singular entity, and you're giving us huge products on a daily basis, and they're supposed to pay you for those services. They didn't pay you, and you kept on doing it. So obviously, there is something in there between them that they actually have to find out. So the NNPC Limited are culpable as well.
Right. Now, there's the matter of turning now to compressed natural gas.
Yeah.
2021,
the CNG,
yes.
yeah.
So a 2021 report says that if we turn our attention now to the use of compressed natural gas, it can save Nigeria about 3 trillion naira every year.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering the campaigns. We had the plans at some point to ensure that we convert about 2 million vehicles or so for the use of compressed natural gas, and we didn't see much being done now, but we are beginning to hear some noise about returning our attention to the use of compressed natural gas. How viable do you see that becoming? Do we have the structures in place? There's also the matter of the kit needed for this conversion being quite expensive. Talk to us with regards to this.
Thank you very much. You see, the point is that we're very good in this country at starting a project. The continuity and the maintenance of such huge projects is usually the problem that we have in this country, especially our government. Now, if you go to other clients who actually function on those facilities, it is not a child's play. If we're talking about CNG, it entails a lot of, it's a huge process. I mean, you have to get the structures in place in the first place. Do we have the power to power those facilities in the first place? What is the cost that is going to cost every household or every vehicle to have that kit installed on his or her car? Which areas are you going to be able to fix those things? Because it's like electric cars. If you go to EU or to the UK, you find every point signposted whereby you could park and then plug in your car, get it charged, and you move. We can't even fix our roads properly in this country. We can't even get things done right properly. You see all this motorway, George carriageway. They spend billions of naira, construct those roads. That will be the end of it. Nobody comes here to maintain them. Nobody comes here to sweep them. A road we constructed today, when you get there the next month, it's all piled up with dust, with sand and everything. They don't clean them. What tells you that when those facilities are being put into place, they'll be well maintained and be well looked after?
Those are your concerns.
Those are my concerns. You see, we love to speak about good things to happen, but we don't have a system whereby we have an institution or an agency in place that actually ensure that all these things, the moment after they've been constructed and been laid down, that there's some agency that looks after them and actually ensure that they're being managed properly. That is, I'm very concerned about it because we talk about it, but have you seen anything on our roads, on our streets, in our community whereby those facilities are being brought up? No.
Well, in addition to your concerns, do you see the CNG possibility as a low-hanging fruit at this time?
It is a possibility if we have it and we get it right. It is, because it will save us a lot of money. We're talking about CNG, we're talking about LPG. I mean, those are the things that we have to go into, still using the fossil fuel. But if we don't have an agency or a ministry that is fully in charge of maintenance, upgrading, and so on and so forth, we can't go into it. And we need to talk about health and safety as well. That is a concern to me. Because if anything happens, an ordinary fuel tanker falls on our road, you have scores dead. You have cars burnt. You have properties being destroyed. They can't even maintain them. You can't even quell the fire. So when gas explodes, the amounts and the momentum of that explosion, the damage could be magnanimous. You can't, don't let's talk about it now. Let's find the structure in place first. And they begin to bring the awareness to the public, how they're going to maintain it, how they're going to be worked on, and so on and so forth, before we can begin to put them in place.
But marketers are saying that, some marketers are saying that they are ready to kickstart the business.
Anybody could say anything. It's all about money. It's all about making money. But we don't have the laid down procedure in place before. Let's talk about it first. Bring the awareness into the public domain. Let's begin to talk about it. Let there be conversation about it. So people that have the expertise will come up and begin to tell us how to do them. We can't just say, yeah, we're going to go into it now, and obviously some ramshackle company comes in and begin to put some things into place that won't function effectively.
Trust is also an issue, and what are your concerns, or what do you think the government should do more? It's been calling for sacrifices by everyone and communicating as such. But what more do you think the government can do in terms of, bridging the existing gap that we see between the governed and the government?
In 1 minute, because of time. Yeah.
Information dissemination. Unlike their predecessors, who doesn't give us that effective information. If we want to do anything, and the government actually comes to the public and says, right, this is what we want to do, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, and you follow it up, then obviously we will follow the government. But in this, what we are in now, we are all in it. We need to roll up our sleeves and begin to work with the government to make it happen. But they need to give us that information for us to follow them. All
right. That's a fine place to leave the conversation. We must thank you, business and economic development strategist and commentator Michael Adeleye.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.